What's up, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Today's video will be a bit different because I won't be telling you which personality type I think the person is beforehand, and instead I'm going to kind of walk you through my own thought process and what goes through my own mind when I try to assess somebody's personality type. The person in question is Bo Burnham, a very famous internet superstar slash director slash comedian. And this video was specifically requested by one of my subscribers. Even the footage was suggested, so I had very little to do with the material choice here. Hope you enjoy.
All right, everybody, welcome. My name's Shane Peltzman. Welcome to Talks at Google. Today we're going to be talking to writer-director of 8th grade, Bo Burnham.
And my name. Hello.
This guy.
What's up, buddy?
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate you. Hello, everybody. You all looking so actually casual. Very nice. I like the guy sitting on the floor.
Typical day at Google.
Yeah, 21st century, baby.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's dive in. You made an incredible movie. Congratulations.
Appreciate
8th grade.
it.
Yeah, saw it last night.
People saw it? Did some people see it here? Cool.
Yeah. Really beautiful movie about a teenager with anxiety who seeks connection via the internet. And I wanted to talk to you about your experience with that, Bo.
The web, yeah. I wanted to talk about the internet and how I was feeling at the time I was writing, which was nervous, and I felt like my nervousness was connected to the internet in some way. So, yeah, I mean, that was and I stumbled on this sort of voice of a 13-year-old girl and just found that I could say what I wanted through her. I watched a lot of videos of kids online talking about themselves. The boys talked about Minecraft and the girls talked about their souls, so I obviously wanted to write about a girl. The boy story would have been like 90 minutes of Fortnite references, which I wasn't as excited about.
Okay, guys, so what I'm looking at first is the temperament. I want to find out which temperament this person best fits. And this is such a vital and key step that most people skip because they want to get straight to the point. They want to be like, okay, this person is this type because they're using this function. And you'd be surprised about how much valuable information you're missing out on by not considering the temperaments first, just because they're so valuable. And it's like kind of like a stepping stone, or it offers a solid foundation to work with and to verify your opinion about what somebody's type is. Now, as far as Bo, he's emitting very NF qualities, in my opinion. He has this very free-flowing, easygoing, watery vibe to him, where he has this deep emotional depth, a bit philosophical. NFs, they're like approachable, but they can be hard to know at the same time. They have this mysterious quality to them. And as far as the functions, his entrance, the way he shakes hands with the interviewer, the way he interacts with the crowds, asks how they're feeling, builds up that harmony in a very socially acceptable way, in an objective way, very polite, very well-mannered. But at the same time, he's also displaying FI, because he has no problem talking about how he felt or how he feels and what he values. Even this connection of like his nervousness with how it's connected to the internet, how it's connected to another thing, very NF qualities here.
I just wanted to talk about a story about the internet that isn't about, someone going viral or about cyberbullying, you know what I mean? I don't know, the sort of conversation about the internet that we have in this country is like Russia, and I think there's like a subtler conversation maybe to have about it emotionally.
Yeah, and that was the decision to make the protagonist a female instead of a male, which would have been closer to your experience.
Yeah, I mean, it just was something that felt right. I mean, I wanted to make something that was not nostalgic and was not my experience, because my disconnect from her is twofold. I was never a 13-year-old girl. I was never a 13-year-old right now, Yeah. So both of those lend themselves to a specific experience, I think. So it being a girl forced me not to project my own experience on her, but also just, I think the type of anxiety I have is shared by my mother, is shared by my sister, and I think it's probably more common to women. I mean, I don't know, but again, it was just like, the 8th grade girls run a little deeper so the movie can get slightly more interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm leaning even more heavily towards the NF argument based on the topic of what he chooses to say, and also by looking at his outwards, wavy, flowing like hand movements that he uses to emphasize his points. This is something that Kiersey specifically attributes to the NFs. And as far as hand movements, they can be very tricky. I only like to use them as supportive evidence towards the temperament that I'm, looking at. And as far as the functions, I see a lot of NE or extroverted intuition here because he's constantly considering different possibilities about what he could have done or what he could have said. Like, I could have said this, I could have said that, I didn't want to say this, I don't want to relate to that. It's a very hyperactive mode of cognition where it's constantly popping out ideas, and it accelerates speech to the point that high NE users can often interrupt themselves.
I think that's an interesting kind of, I don't know about contradiction, but the idea of being stricken with anxiety, but also having the confidence to be able to put yourself out there to millions of people. I wanted to.
For me personally.
Well, for you and for the character that you created.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing. I don't know how everyone else feels here, but like, I don't know. It's just we live in a culture that sort of is like requires extraversion, and I don't think all of us are extroverted, and I think some of us are thriving in it, but some of us aren't. And this sort of idea that if you are not expressing yourself, you are not seen. You are not living if you aren't being seen and watched. It's really stressful, and it's something I have struggled with. Me being of an age that the internet sort of became ubiquitous. The social media did when I was 16. I had a little bit of a sense of myself, but the idea of being 13 and not even having to being 13 now, to never have known a time before, the need to live in front of you on this thing is very strange. And you watch a baby with an iPad and you realize like, oh, these things are being designed to appeal to us before we can even think.
Yeah.
It's scary and it's weird. And I just don't think we're taking inventory of what it's doing to us, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what you all feel. You guys are all young people working in the tech world, so you probably know more than I do.
Well,
all right, so there's a ton of stuff that just occurred in that clip. I could probably talk about it for 20 minutes, but the general gist of it is this. Always be careful when someone mentions introversion or extroversion or introvert or extrovert. It's much safer to assume that they're using it in a colloquial sense, not in a very, deep Jungian psychology, MBTI sort of way. I'm not saying he doesn't know about it. It's just safer to assume that that's what's happening here. The other thing is, judging by his speech pattern and the topics that he chooses to speak about, even with this idea of the internet, how it affects him, how it affects you, how it affects society, how it affects the audience in front of him, it's a very big picture, humanitarian, collective sort of mentality where he's looking at the patterns between things. This is a very NF characteristic.
I think it's interesting. You had incredible success with this outlet of putting up videos on the internet, and the character in your film doesn't have that same success. And I'm wondering if there's a sense of connection that is created by gaining viral success, or if that's the thing you're seeking in the first place.
Oh, I don't know. I just don't know. I just felt like, for me, it was like we were only talking about the internet in terms of who is seen on it and who goes viral. But the majority of how the internet is actually used is by people who are not seen and who are not getting that. So I just wanted to portray that. I don't know. I think the internet, as it functions for most of us, isn't a way for us to connect to millions of people as much as it is sort of like a black void that's sort of like God that we can just kind of project anything into, and who knows what it is. And is it there? Is it not? I don't know. It's all very positive talk here, but as I'm sitting here at the lobby of the Hard Rock Cafe. I love the design. Oh, look at this.
It's ongoing.
And it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a lot of strings. I don't know what instrument.
He maintains this enthusiasm throughout the interview. It leads me to believe that his dominant function is extroverted. So at this point, I'm kind of thrown INFP and INFJ out the window, so I'm left with two types that remain. And his eyes are very N in the sense that he's always looking around, doesn't really maintain eye contact. He's looking for the meanings and the patterns between things.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just like, for me, the people that speak with authority on the internet have no idea what the internet's actually doing. In terms of emotion, I didn't want to teach anything about the internet. I didn't want to be preachy, because if I was being honest about my experience on the internet, I felt like it makes me, it's good, it can be a real source of good or pain. I'm nervous, I feel weird, and if I'm being honest, I feel kind of like a scared kid, and that's why I was able to, because again, when 13-year-olds grow up and become social scientists, I'll be very curious to hear what they have to say about the internet. But until then, it feels like as an adult, our job is just to sort of take inventory of what's happening emotionally, and then, not you guys can make what you want of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The people that seem to be floating above the internet, looking at the forest, I don't think they get it.
Yeah.
Okay guys, so I'm going to conclude here and wrap it up with some final thoughts about why I believe Bo Burnham is a good example of an ENFP personality type over the ENFJ. So in the first, we have extroverted intuition. He's very bubbly, very enthusiastic, very quirky. He's constantly exhibiting the traits of NE. He's looking around, looking for the connections of things, both on a physical and conceptual realm. He's able to be in the moment. And if you've watched my video on Robin Williams and that ENFP example, you should notice some similarities here, especially when they're on stage and improvising. Now, these ideas, this pattern recognition, is backed up by introverted feeling, FI, deep emotions, subjective values. He had no problem talking about how he felt about things, how he feels about things, assessing value to things through a deep subjective right-brained lens. Third slot, TE. He seems like he's a very matter-of-fact person, very practical-minded, rational. Just get things done, see how it works. Just this mentality of like, let's go do it. Let's see how it is. Not take things apart and analyze something bit by bit. Just get it done. See what results are produced. That sort of thing. Fourth slot, SI. He exhibited a good memory, especially when he's talking about his childhood, when he was specifically 13 years old, how he was feeling, what he was going through, all those past experiences. But at the same time, if you noticed how he was sitting, it's kind of like he had ants in his pants, something like that, where he couldn't really be comfortable. He was constantly moving around, very quirky, generally characteristics of NE-DOMs. And finally, if you've been watching my videos, you know why the sixth is so important, especially if the function here is extroverted. You will see it behaviorally and cognitively expressed in a person. We saw the harmonizing of between him and the interviewer, between him and the audience, constantly asking them how they are, making sure everyone feels good. ENFPs will be affected by others' emotions, and they will, on an intuitive level, feel the environment or the audience as a whole, what they're collectively feeling in that sense. And so he was both portraying FI and FE, but I think the most dominant function was extroverted intuition. So that's why I think Bo Burnham's an ENFP. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments below. All right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.